Hey guys, what's up? My name is Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. And I don't know where you live, but where I live here in Colorado, winter is coming very quickly. Regardless, it is November. Snow is gonna be coming probably this month. I'm not a snow person or a winter person. If it could be summer all year long or summer to spring all year long, I would be thriving. So with plants, regardless if you have 1 to 2 or a whole room full like I do, there's a little bit of a difference in the care for these plants during winter time. I've been asked before what I do to kind of prep for my, I almost spilled my coffee, for winter plant care. And it's nothing too extreme, nothing too different than during summer, spring, fall. So let's start with lighting. So wintertime, less light, less hours of sunlight, although right now it does look pretty bright and sunny in this room. There are plenty of days during wintertime, but the majority of the days here where it is not that sunny like this in here, or at least for only a couple hours during the day versus all day long during summertime. All right, so depending on where you live, what kind of lights you get, and I mean light as in what way your windows are facing, how many windows you have, all that fun stuff, you might need to supplement with grow lights. Luckily, there's tons of grow lights out there to choose from. So this is one that I have set up. Ignore this ugly tape and the a million rubber bands. Here is the bulb that I use. I can't remember the exact brand name right now. Super popular. I will link everything, but pretty much the bulb itself was way too heavy, weighed down this guy, which is why I have all the tape and rubber bands holding it up. This is another setup I have over here. Ignore, please, all the dirt. So we have 2 sets down here and down here. I had a third one up here, but I don't keep plants up there anymore. And these ones I did get at Home Depot. Again, I'll put everything down below, but this is a great option if you have somewhere to hang it. So with this one, there are no timers connected. It's just a switch, but I did purchase one of these and I set the timer on here and I just keep them on the switch side versus this one that has its own timer. I just put it on the always on side and that works out rather well. This little setup was from Amazon and it has 3 lights. It has this little clicker. You can set if you want it to stay on for 4 hours, 8 hours, or 12 hours. So I only have those, 4? The bulb and the lamp that can't hold it up, the 3-prong one, and the 2 long bars that are hanging. You may not need all those grow lights, and I don't keep them all out during summertime, but during wintertime, it definitely makes a difference, especially for my cacti that require a lot of sunlight in order to thrive. Besides the ones that I showed you, of course, there are a million other options and brands out there, and they all vary in the type of light, like white light, blue light. Of course, quality, price are both factors, so I recommend doing some research before you just go and purchase the first one you find. Of course, the lighting is very important to your plants, but humidity is also extremely important. Unless you have very easygoing plants, even me, I have easygoing plants. For the most part, some are a little bit more finicky when it comes to like humidity and watering. But the more tropical plants that you get into your home that are used to high humidity environments will always do better if you supplement that humidity. Again, it depends where you live. I live in Colorado. It is very dry here. Summer, winter, very dry. And I run my humidifier pretty much all year long. I might give it some breaks during the summertime on those really hot days when I just don't need it, but for the most part, wintertime, always on. I'll be honest, humidifiers are one of those things that I did not think I really needed, and I could get away with not using one. And then moving here to Colorado, my first winter, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna need one. So now I would say saving up if you need to for a more pricier one that has better quality, better reviews, is worth it because my humidifier just broke. I was using this one. It was the Crane, like the Cool Mist Ultrasonic, something like that. And I didn't really want that one, but I was like, okay, it's just temporary. This is a cheap one, or cheaper compared to the one that I wanted. And yeah, it lasted a year, maybe. max. Even if you don't live in a state that's a very dry climate, you could still benefit, or your plants could still benefit from a humidifier, especially if you don't run your heater all day long during the wintertime. It'll help if your rooms are slightly on the cooler side, but it also helps if you do run that humidifier all day, or if you do run that heater all day, all night, because it'll help combat that dry air that the heater is giving in your room or in your home. So regardless if you run your heater or not, if your rooms are in the cooler side or the more dry side from having that heater on, a humidifier is gonna help. When it comes to watering, this gives, at least for me, the one pro to wintertime is having to water less, like significantly less, which means less work. And sometimes I'm really busy and I really appreciate that little break of watering less, which means less plant care. But that is a change in my plant care routine, is watering less and being mindful of that. Now, if you're not used to having so many plants and this might be your first winter with a room full of plants, you might think like, oh no, they might die, or that you're being neglectful and you might get worried. I know some people kind of hover over their plants. Really, if you try to water the same amount that you're watering in summertime when they're getting way more sunlight, way more heat sometimes, then you could very well kill your plants with root rot. So don't do that. I always say it's better to water less than to overwater, and definitely keep that in mind in wintertime, because that soil is gonna hold way more moisture, and that plant is gonna hold way more moisture during wintertime than it will during the summer. So last thing that I kind of change in my winter plant care routine is fertilizing. I say kind of because it only changes because the watering changes, at least for me. So I know I still see a lot of people and a lot of information on the internet saying you can't repot during wintertime, you should stop fertilizing during wintertime because your plants don't need it, which yes is true, but if your plants are indoors all year long, they're not really subject to the normal seasonal changes that they'd be having outdoors. So the same rules don't 100% apply. You can totally repot during the winter time. You can totally fertilize all throughout the year. I do, and tons of other people do, because your plants just aren't following that seasonal change that they would be following if they were outdoors, if they were perennials, and if you were just keeping all your philodendrons outside because you live in a climate that can support that. So I mentioned that my fertilizing only changes during the winter time because my water changes, or my watering changes, which is because I primarily use a brand called New. And with this brand, you're free to use it with every water. But since I water way less in wintertime, I am fertilizing way less because I do the two at the same time. Now, even when I use fish oil, I do sometimes use that, or another brand, but I'm blanking because I haven't used it that often. Anyway, I still use it less because I tend to fertilize on a watering day regardless, just because it makes it easier for me to remember. Regardless of what kind of fertilizer I would use, I would still be using it less because I water less during the wintertime. But if you're not like me and you keep a strict routine of when you like to fertilize, same amount of times every month or once a week, whatever it is for you, you can totally still stick to that routine, but you might have to tweak it a little bit because your plants are gonna require less watering. So if you did your normal watering and your plants are all good to go, during summertime, maybe your fertilizing day is a week from your last water, and by then they would be dried out, ready for water thirsty, and you knock it out. So you don't wanna just be like, oh, that's fine, I always fertilize a week after my last watering day. They'll be okay, and the soil's still really moist because it's wintertime and it hasn't dried out as quickly. You could very well still kill your plants. Liquid is liquid, and a liquid fertilizer can still kill your plants and give them root rot. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, so we're all done. Like I said, I don't really change my winter plant care routine that drastically. It's pretty much just less watering and supplementing sunlight and still fertilizing. Although I do like to keep it pretty simple when it comes to plant care. So if you have some other tips or other things you like to do during wintertime when it comes to your plants, leave them below. Maybe I'll learn something new and I'll start to incorporate it into my winter plant care. As always, you can find me on Instagram. I'm always open to talk to new people. I love talking about plants, of course, but anyone in this community. So I hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in my next video.